Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature, it is untouched by man? It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment. And for those of you that use the QR code or the link provided on YouTube and on Facebook, we thank all of you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you believe you have received bad information about how to conduct yourself in relationships. And you said you want to learn how to do things differently to have healthy relationships. So let me first of all begin by saying this. The good news is that you have realized that you've been given bad information. So I see this often, and I'm going to break this down. You know, you are a millennial, okay? So here's the reality. The first thing you have to do is stop talking to your girlfriends about having relationships. They don't know any more than you know. That's the first thing you've got to understand. They know nothing more about having relationships than you know about having a relationship. So the second factor is you've got to stop talking to people who haven't had successful relationships. And what I mean by that is, if they haven't had relationships for a very long period of time, and I talked to one of our listeners and viewers some time ago, so hopefully, you said you're new to the broadcast, so I'm going to break this down for you to realize that people that don't have successful relationships cannot guide you into a successful relationship. They can't, and you got to remember, everyone's relationship is going to be different because you have different people involved in the relationship. But the reality is, if you're talking to someone who has had relationships that have lasted 2 years, they've had a relationship that have lasted 4 years, 5 years, and they didn't get married, these are not the people that you need to be talking to about how to conduct yourself in a relationship. And family members who, because we all have them, family members who have never had a successful relationship. And when I talk about successful relationships, you got to think about the word successful. That word itself is not a small word. Successful relationships are not small acts of life. They are long-term sustainable acts of life. So you have to look at people who have not only had a relationship that's exceeded 3 to 5 years, but it resulted in marriage. and the marriage is sustaining itself. Those are the people you want to talk to. Those are people that you can have conversations with that understand the nuances of relationships. They understand the nuances of being a new married couple. They understand the nuances of being long-term couples. They understand that there's an evolution that occurs, and they have successfully navigated the evolution. So you don't want to have conversations with people who do not have successful relationships. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you said you want to learn how to do things differently to have to have healthy relationships. That's what you said. So think about this. When you think about a healthy relationship, you may want to correlate that to your health. Are you in good health? Do you have a good relationship? Not just healthy, but good. Is it peaceful, or is it toxic? You've got to decide what you're going to do differently. So you indicated in your communication also that you're not in a relationship right now. Before you get into another relationship, you want to make certain that you develop a healthy relationship. So you have to develop a healthy lifestyle. It's the same thing with your physical health. You have to develop a healthy lifestyle. And let me tell you what that means, because none of us are perfect, and so I will share. I always make the joke that I married the food police. My wife is very health conscious. She's very conscious about what we eat. She's very conscious about, our intake, for lack of a better term. Now, she does her part of making certain that I understand the nuances of, healthy eating, and, we don't have any issues with, drugs or alcohol. Nicotine, that's a drug also. We don't do any of those things. We don't smoke, we don't drink, we don't do drugs. We're trying to live a healthy and healthier lifestyle continuously. So she'll remind me about those things. But I like desserts. And, she reminds me about, sugar. She reminds me about that. Constantly reminds me about that, but it's a joke. It's a little joke behind the scenes. But I say that to say, it's because she's trying to encourage me to have a healthier lifestyle. She has a healthy lifestyle, but it has to be the same thing in your relationships. You have to decide what's not good about your relationship. Is it attitude? Is it behavior? Is it commitment or lack thereof? Is it, diligently working to build a great quality of life? Do you have a spirit of excellence in your relationship? All of that has to be taken into consideration. And of course, what's your level of faith in your relationship? What's your level of gratitude in your relationship? All of those things mean something. What's your relationship? Watch this. What's your relationship habits? What's your relationship intellect? You got to have an IQ about relationships, because you got to know what are deal breakers and what are not deal breakers. You got to know what are relationship breakers and marriage breakers before you go into them. So it's about being healthy. Part of being healthy is being at peace, because stress is a killer. So you've got to know that if you're going to be in a relationship, you have to make it a healthy relationship. You have to make a conscious decision that you're going to have a healthy relationship. And that means that you've got to constantly be examining where you are in all of your relationships, personal and professional. You got to be examining where you are. How are you navigating the success of those relationships? So you say, how can you learn to do something different? How can you learn to do things different? The one thing that I will say, I don't have any books for you to read. I don't have any books to recommend that you read. There are books out there, but the one book I know that will help you to have a healthy relationship is the Bible. That's the one book I know that works. The rest of them ebbs and flows. You can read all you want, all the self-help books and all the. I'm not suggesting that you can't read any of those things. What I am suggesting is those will evolve also. They will change. And what I mean by that is one person will write one in this decade and someone else will write one in another decade and someone will write one in the decade after that. Those will evolve and they will change based on the culture that we're in. But one thing that never changes is the Word of God. One thing that never changes is the Holy Bible. And we don't spend enough time searching those scriptures to find out how to have healthy relationships, how to have a healthy lifestyle, how to not just live on the grace and mercy of God, be thankful for the grace and mercy of God, but not just live on the grace and mercy of God without putting our faith in action and doing some work, working on ourselves. If you do that, you're going to find that before you get into another relationship, you're going to find that you will have a much healthier relationship. And then before you get into one, the next person you consider to become involved in a relationship with, go back to the basic of what I've been sharing with everyone, a revelation from God about how we need to date differently. That's one of the things you said. How can you do things differently? That's the start of it. Date differently. Make certain that whoever you are going to date, first of all, they have a relationship with the Lord. Second of all, make certain that you do exactly, no variation. See, we can always find variations. We can always deviate from the instruction. But go to church and out to lunch. Go to church, out to lunch. Go to church, out to lunch 3 times. No dinners, no events, no travel, no nothing, no concerts, no nights out on the town. Church and lunch 3 times. By then you'll know if this is someone that you can pursue a relationship with. Because you're going to know exactly what they're being fed. If they don't have a home church, take them to your church. But you're going to know exactly what they're being fed. You're going to know exactly what has saturated their spirit. And then you can make a decision. Do you want to pursue a relationship by doing some other activities? You got to take one step at a time. The problem is we want to run before we learn to walk, and we want to walk before we learn to crawl. You've been held in the arms of God, in the arms of the Lord for a very long time. But now you have to get down and crawl. Then you're going to have to walk before you can run. But you have to have a plan to run to. So this is all part of doing things differently so that you can find your way into a healthy relationship. Just renew your mind the way you're thinking right now. And you'll find you'll be able to, and renewing your mind means just that, doing something different, doing things differently. And you'll find that you'll have much healthier relationships. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, before I do that, I'm going to tell you that this segment of the broadcast is going to be brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you are in the market for a high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. you will have the opportunity to virtually build out the Porsche you desire to own. And if you're in our area, you can simply go to PorscheDelaware.com, ask to speak to Mike Didio, who is the general manager of PorscheDelaware.com. He will have someone help you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you're in our area and you currently own a Porsche and are just in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will have someone assist you in scheduling an appointment for you. They will pick up your vehicle at your home or office, drop off a loaner vehicle to you, and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you have not had a relationship with your father in many years. You said he has supported you financially. However, you have not allowed him to be a part of your life because you say your mother turned you against him. And now you feel like you've missed out. Well, there's a very simple solution to this. You know, I get it. In your communication, you said that he's remarried, he has a family, but you feel like you've missed out. The simple solution to that is to reach out to your father. And when you reach out to him, just explain to him, because you said he has supported you financially. So just reach out to him, and this is a very simple message. I'm not interested in disrupting your life, but I would like to have a relationship with you. And whatever form of a relationship you're willing to have with me, I feel like that will give me a sense of completion. If you say that, I can tell you your father's going to respond. But you're going to have to allow him to have, because he has a family now, you're going to have to allow him to determine what that relationship's going to look like. You made your choice and determined that, you know, what your mother was saying made him appear to be a bad guy, so you chose not to spend any time with him over the years. But he's still your father. He would still like to spend time with you, but you haven't allowed that. So because you haven't allowed that, you made your choice. But now you have to allow him to choose what that relationship's going to look like. And now you're a young adult. You're a young adult. So now's the time for you to just open your heart, open your mouth. You know, you're 26 now. So you can clearly have a relationship because you're a young adult. Well, you're actually 26, so you're in adulthood now. So you have to remember that, you know, your mother was doing things on her own terms. And what you said in your communication also was that now she's encouraging you to have a relationship with your father. And the reason is because at the end of the day, she knows you're going to need him. Just reach out and then let him decide what that relationship's going to look like. He'll figure it out. That's a grown man. He'll figure it out. He will figure out what that's going to look like, and he will spend time with you, and he'll find a way to blend all of this together, because again, that's a grown man. And the reason we know he's a grown man doing grown man things is because he was supporting you financially even though you weren't having a relationship with him. So now's the time that you can do something about that. You have the opportunity to make the change so that you're not missing out on a relationship. Don't go another 26 years without having a relationship with your father, because you can change that. And that relationship can blossom in whatever way you would desire And he would desire that to blossom. Often in the lives of children, when parents get divorced, parents will force the children to take sides. Either you choose her side or you choose his side. That's because parents haven't always learned how to navigate relationships. Parents were sometimes not mature enough to navigate relationships. But now you're a young adult, so you get to decide. You get to decide what the future of that relationship is going to look like. And that decision is entirely up to you and your father. And you don't have to let anyone else interfere with that, because you've missed out long enough. But now you get to do something about that. So open your heart, open your mouth, and you will find out that your father will figure it out. He'll figure out a way to spend time with you and to have a relationship with you because he desires to do so. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Comcast Business. If we are all in need of being more effective and efficient in business, Comcast Business gives us the opportunity to do just that. Call Comcast Business, Eunice at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope, and with a qualifying gig bundle, you will receive an $800 prepaid Visa gift card. Call Eunice at Comcast Business at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope. And this segment of the broadcast, before I address another communication from one of our listeners and viewers, is brought to you by Under Armour Golf. If you are a golfer such as myself and you want to enjoy a great golf outing, go to UnderArmour.com. In the search bar, type in the word golf. You will see everything that Under Armour has to offer for you to enjoy a day of golf. And if you're in the market for just athletic gear or athletic wear, go to UnderArmour.com. They have everything you could possibly need at UnderArmour.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you are almost age 40 and now finding relationships difficult, and you want to know why is it so difficult to have a successful relationship. So this goes back to what I said to the other listener and viewer, but everyone's situation is different. So you've got a little different situation, and you know how to have a relationship. You've been having relationships, and they've been slightly long-term relationships before they come to an end. Relationships are difficult, are not, let me rephrase that. Relationships can be difficult. Relationships are not difficult. People are difficult. So we have to decide that we're not going to be difficult. We have to be willing to change our own method of doing things and choose another method. Make a conscious decision that I'm going to do things entirely different than I've always done. Now, the things that have worked in the past, it's okay to modify them and implement them in new relationships, but don't be difficult. The problem is we make relationships difficult because we have different moods and we have different mood swings and all of that. All of that that's really not necessary, because none of it is really that serious. You know what's serious? What's serious is death. What's serious is cancer. What's serious is having a health crisis that you have no control over whatsoever. That's serious. The little things that we complain about and debate about are not that serious. Sometimes we just have to say to ourselves, First of all, it's not that deep. And then sometimes we just have to say to ourselves, this is all part of life. This is all part of growth. It's all part of becoming a better version of myself. Some things I don't have to like, I have to learn to live with because they're part of life. And if we do that, we just take a different approach to it, we'll find that relationships are really not that complicated. We make them complicated. People, we make relationships complicated. But they don't have to be. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do, is just realize that it's not that serious. Let's make a commitment that we're going to make our relationships, our marriages, our relationships with our significant others, even our relationships with our children, let's make a commitment not to make them difficult. Because some things are not the problem, we're the problem. And let's just try a different approach to it. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you want to know how to establish a better life for yourself. So I'm going to take these last few minutes to talk about this. I'll engage our listeners and viewers about this a little further because I get a lot of questions about this. So the way that you're going to be able to establish a better life for yourself is, first of all, establishing a better relationship with the Lord. That's the very first thing. That's the foundation of everything, is establishing a relationship with the Lord. And then you have to do what the Bible says, which is let a man or woman examine themselves. In order to do that, you have to do a SWOT analysis. You have to really examine yourself and say, what are my strengths in life? What are my weaknesses in life? What opportunities do I have? And what threats are part of those opportunities? What threats will disrupt those opportunities? So you have to do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Then you have to develop smarter goals. We talked about SMART goals long ago. We've been focused on smarter goals because at some point in time, we have to go to the next level. So you really then have to write out smarter goals. And then, as I've told everyone over and over again, we have to develop a 7-year plan, 14-year plan, and a 21-year plan. And you all are going to have to excuse me because I'm having some problems with my allergies once again. So, here's the reality. You have to really have to look at your 7-year plan, your 14-year plan, and 21-year plan. If you don't have one, you have to develop one. And that has to include personal, professional, your wealth building, your wealth preservation, everything that you want to accomplish over time in the course of your life. And you have to base that on, and I'm not telling you to stop writing if that doesn't take you to the end of life. I've talked about this. You need a 28-year plan, a 35-year plan, a 42-year plan, a 49-year plan if you're 21. You need those plans. And then you have to be okay with whatever God does to adjust the plan, and then you make the revisions that are necessary. But having said all of that, these are the 3 steps that we have to take if we're going to establish a great quality of life. I first said a relationship with the Lord. And then you have to do all these other things, because the relationship with the Lord is the foundation. So I'm not counting that into 3 things. I'm saying you've got to do that first, because that's your foundation. Then SWOT analysis yourself, write a SWOT analysis, write smarter goals, and develop a 7-year plan, 14-year plan, a 21-year plan. Depending on your age, you may need to keep going 7-year increments. And you will find that you will not only be able to establish a better life for yourself and become a better version of yourself, but you will be able to establish a great quality of life. Today's Daily Divine Direction 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. Remember, we're in the midst of our FijiWater.com sponsored promo. Go to our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com. The first 3 songs you hear at 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time